I'm Martin Milton. I'm director of the BIPM, and I'd like to talk to you today at the 12th International Metrology Symposium about the work we do to promote comparable measurements for new quantum and digital technologies. I'd like to start by setting the context for what we do at BIPM by talking about some of the work we do to reach out to other international organizations. One of our objectives over recent years has been to promote World Metrology Day as widely as we can. And in this respect, an important objective has been to get recognition from UNESCO, the United Nations Education and Scientific Cooperation Organization, that they would recognize World Metrology Day as a World Day within their system. I'm delighted to say that at the end of last year, UNESCO, at their general conference in November, agreed to proclaim World Metrology Day as a World Day. Getting to the point of having agreement from another international organization to celebrate World Metrology Day, which is something that is about the work of the BIPM and our partners at the OIML, requires support from their member states. We're very pleased that our proposal was really pioneered by the permanent delegation of Kazakhstan. It also had support, very importantly, from 43 other UNESCO member states, of which 10 were states that are not part of our current system. They're not member states and they're not associate states. So this action of taking World Metrology Day to UNESCO has already expanded our sphere of influence by encouraging 10 states that don't currently participate in our activities to become involved and to become interested in what World Metrology Day can do for them. A result of World Metrology Day being recognized by UNESCO is that it's now promoted on their website. There's a web page dedicated to it. You can take a look. It also attracts a dedicated statement about metrology from the Director General of UNESCO. Let me quote a couple of her words. She wrote this year, "We depend on measurements as powerful tools to drive scientific discovery, technological innovation, and sustainable development." Those are the words of the Director General of another international organization promoting everything that we in the world metrology community do. They also have on their website some very interesting examples of how metrology is very important to people in so many different ways. So our theme for World Metrology Day in 2024 has been sustainability. We measure today for a sustainable tomorrow. And we're very pleased that TÜBİTAK Ume in Turkey worked with us to design this poster with the support of Euromet. And we promoted that successfully throughout the World Metrology Day initiatives in the year, which started with a launch event at the UNESCO headquarters in May. On our World Metrology Day dedicated website that we share with the OIML, you'll see this year there are 56 posters from member and associate states and 35 events that are highlighted. Very exciting amongst these events is not only the events that have taken place in member and associate states, but also posters highlighting support for World Metrology Day from 4 states, that aren't currently participating as members or associates: Bahrain, Tajikistan, Nigeria, and Jordan. I know we all welcome their engagement into the world metrology community. Another type of outreach that we've been developing during the last 2 years to another international organization to promote metrology is our work to promote metrology to the global climate community. The BIPM has the status of being an observer at the Conference of Parties, the COP, of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which enabled us to participate in the COP meetings in Baku this year and in Dubai last year. Our motivation for being involved in those meetings was to promote the outcomes of the joint meetings that we've held with the World Meteorological Organization under the heading Metrology for Climate Action. The most recent one of those was in September this year. We had 400 participants, some here on the site in Sèvres and some online. And out of that came recommendations for actions within the NMI community. Seeing the opportunity to further present these technical outcomes of workshops, next year we've been granted observer status at the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and we'll be taking those technical conclusions and perspectives from the metrology metrology community to that global policy panel on quantifying climate change. I'd like to move now to talk a little bit about quantum. Quantum is one of the themes for your symposium this year, and I'd like to talk about the perspective of quantum metrology and the way it's reflected in our SI system. Our SI system, I always think, has many different aspects. When we speak to different people about the SI, they think about different things. They may think about the prefixes, they may think about the base units, or they may think about the derived units, or they may think about the summary of all of it, summarized in the SI brochure, published and available from the BIPM website. The SI is all of those things. It's also a dynamic system that has changed and developed in response to new requirements for metrology. The decision to choose the word SI, International System, was made in 1960 by the CGPM. At that time, the SI was a system with 4 base units, the kilogram, second, meter, ampere, Kelvin, and candela. Subsequently, you see from this timeline how the SI has developed. In 1967, the meter was redefined, allowing the benefit of the superb performance of atomic clocks to be brought into the system. In 1972, the system was expanded to cover the mole, the opportunity to include measurements in chemistry in the system. In 1979, the candela was redefined and improved. In 1983, we had the first definition based on a fundamental constant, being the meter in terms of the speed of light. And in 1990, we introduced quantum realizations of the volt and the ohm as part of the system, as realizations in the system. And the ITS temperature scale for 1990 was adopted. But bringing all these together, and in some respects superseding all of them, was the decision in 2018 to agree new definitions for the kilogram, the ampere, the Kelvin, and the mole, all based on fundamental constants. Let me say a little bit about that. So our system, our historic system of 7 base units, can be thought of historically, this is prior to the new definition of 2018, as being 3 definitions that were based on fundamental or conventional constants. So the meter was defined in terms of a fixed value of the speed of light. The ampere was defined in terms of a conventional value for the permeability of free space. And the candela was defined with respect to a conventional value for the luminous intensity constant. There were 3 definitions that you can think of as being based on atomic or material properties. The second defined in terms of a specific hyperfine frequency within the cesium atom, the Kelvin in terms of the triple point of water, and the mole in terms of the amount of substance in 12 grams of pure carbon-12. This categorization leaves us just one of the units outstanding, the kilogram, which until 2018 depended on the mass of an artifact held here at the BIPM, the International Prototype Kilogram. There were some limitations historically in this system associated with the way these definitions were developed. So the ampere, for example, was effectively superseded in 1990 by the convention that the quantum mechanical effects would be used to realize the volt and the ohm. The Kelvin in practice was implemented through the practical ITS 90 temperature scale. The kilogram was defined in terms of an artifact, but there was some evidence that the artifact as realized may not have been as stable as our capability to make mass comparison measurements. And the mole was a definition that was widely misunderstood. It was often recorded in textbooks and papers on metrology that the mole was a fixed number of entities. In fact, it wasn't. But this kind of confusion is traceable back to the way the mole was articulated in the pre-2018 system. So in 2018, at the 26th meeting of the General Conference on Weights and Measures, the 59 states party to the Meter Convention that were present agreed on their Resolution A, Resolution 1, on the revision of the International System of Units. This introduced a different way to think about the 7 base units and specifically introduced 4 new definitions. These definitions, if you like, brought the thinking and the world of quantum science into the SI. So the new definitions brought a definition of the kilogram in terms of a fixed value of the Planck constant H, of the ampere in terms of the charge on the electron E, the Kelvin in terms of fixed value of the Boltzmann constant K sub B, and the mole in terms of a fixed value for the Avogadro number, hence the Avogadro constant. In addition to that, 2 definitions, the meter and the candela, were reworded, but keeping the same metrological principles behind them. And the second, which now seems a little different to the other definitions, was also reworded, but highlighting the fact that it's based on a fixed value for a certain atomic property. So that's our new system for the SI, decided in 2018 and put in place in 2019. Although the 7 base units are each referred to one particular fixed constants, there are interrelationships between them. So, for example, the Kelvin requires information about the kilogram and the meter and the second, as well as the definition of the Boltzmann constant. So an advantage, if you like, of this system is that the whole SI can be summarized in a rather simple paragraph of text with the 7 fixed constants. Or if you want to really summarize it, you can put the whole thing on the back of a business card and say that the SI is simply the system that works on the basis of these constants. I should add that one has to be careful in that one can never win anything from nature. One can take advantage of the laws of physics, but one can never actually gain simply by changing definitions. What I mean by that is, although we have now our 7 adopted constant values, hidden in our system, there are now 4 variable values that are determined each time we redetermine the fundamental constants. None of these values impact upon the practical work of metrology at all, but it is important to recall that there is still the same amount of uncertainty in our system of base units after 2018 as there was before. So I think we can say that we've made good steps towards what you might call an atomic or a quantum SI. In fact, the first move towards an atomic SI was in 1967 when we based our definition of the second on an atomic definition. In that same year, a very important paper was published proposing that the volt could be based on a realization of the Josephson effect. In 1990, Klaus von Klitzing and collaborators discovered the quantum Hall effect, and 1980, sorry, discovered the quantum Hall effect, and thereby created the basis for the conventional approach to electrical metrology that was introduced in 1990. So now, come 2018, we can look upon our system as being, if you like, a system based on quantum science, a system based on atomic science, but certainly a system that is based on things that are fundamental in the way we think about the way our world works. I'd like to move on now and talk about another subject, which is how we're moving our measurement system into the digital world, into a world where digital services are needed to supply dependable information to exchanges that are basically mediated, that are created by computers. As I explained earlier, our progress with the atomic and quantum SI was based and authorized by a decision of the General Conference on Weights and Measures. The same is true about our progress towards a digital version of the SI. This was based on this was authorized by a decision on the General Conference in November 2022, 2 years ago, who agreed that the CIPM should undertake the development and promotion of what they called an SI digital framework. That should be a globally accepted digital representation of the SI, compatible with and usable within digital data exchange standards and protocols, whilst also maintaining comparability with existing non-digital schemes. Part of the motivation for this is the adoption of the FAIR principles, the principles that data should be findable and accessible, interoperable and reusable, that these principles should be applied to digital metrological data and metadata, ensuring that all communities can use and exchange information based on the highest quality internationally agreed metrological principles. So what is this SI digital framework and how much progress has been made towards developing it? So the SI digital framework provides a fully digital representation of the SI. It provides the globally accepted anchor of trust for metrology in the digital era. And amongst other things, it will facilitate the use of digital certificates and the adoption of the FAIR principles. So whereas in the past we thought of the SI, as I said earlier, as being our base units, our prefixes, and our derived units and the relationships between them, that we've summarized in a book, in a brochure that is now always exchanged as a PDF, that while that PDF is in a sense a digital publication, this digital SI framework takes that digital publication to a completely higher level where it provides truly machine-readable data so that machines accessed through the internet can find definitive references and definitive information about our international system, about our SI. The center point for that is something we call the SI digital reference point. It's a service available from BIPM. I'll explain what's in it. It provides the basis for fair, machine-readable metrology data. So how do we go about structuring new digital services at the BIPM to move us and to support the whole metrology world moving into this digital era? Well, the first thing we've been doing is improving and opening up real digital access to our BIPM databases. These are the key comparison database and the UTC, the Universal Time System database. New services are available for these. So-called APIs, application programming interfaces, are available. And if you visit either of those websites, you'll see how new digital accesses are available. But I want to talk now a little bit about our new pure digital service, the SI reference point. So our new SI reference point has been launched, and it contains digital references for the key information that constitutes the SI. So our beta version, which has been available in 2024, includes digital references for units, for prefixes, for defining constants, for the quantities that are referred to in the SI brochure, for the underpinning decisions that motivate and justify all of the units and prefixes. Also provides digital references for CMCs, which links through to the key comparison database, of course, and to the measurement service categories, which are the basis for the categorization of CMCs in the key comparison database. Measurement service categories for the physics areas so far. So we know there is more work to do. We foresee a version 2 in 2025, which will extend the provision of digital references for measurement service categories to cover ionizing radiation and chemistry, also providing references for NMIs and DIs. For the wider set of quantities, these are the ones used in the key comparison database, and for fundamental constants. Now, our system of digital references for metrology depends also on digital references that are provided by other organizations outside the BIPM. I highlight 3 of them here. The ROR system is an external system that provides digital references for research organizations. That's a system that we refer to in our key comparison database. The ORCIDS is a system of digital references for research scientists. And the INCHI is a system developed externally as digital references for chemical species. So all of those are an important part of our system, and they reflect the way the digital world works by open exchange of information and linkage by different organizations providing authoritative information within their own spheres of responsibility. I want to finish my talk today by looking forward to 2025 a little bit and talking about some celebrations that we're planning. My first celebration is a celebration that has been taking place over recent months, which is that we've been celebrating 25 years of the CIPM MRA. The CIPM MRA was signed by 40 institutes, that was 38 NMIs and 2 international organizations, on the 14th of October 1999, hence the 25th anniversary in October this year. The CIPM MRA has come a very long way since October 1999. If it had 40 institutes back then, we now have 251 institutes signed up to contribute their capabilities and the technical basis for their capabilities into the MRA system. These 251 institutes come from 64 member states, from 36 associates, from 4 international organizations, and 150 designated institutes designated by the member states and associates. Our key comparison database now includes more than 26,000 CMCs, which are based on the technical evidence within more than 11,000 key comparisons and more than 700 supplementary comparisons. All of this information and all of this work that constitutes the MRA, of course, would be nothing if the MRA wasn't widely used by stakeholders for measurements and for comparable measurement certificates. Today, we know, and I have some examples here, that the MRA provides a primary source to identify internationally recognized measurement capabilities within the NMI and the wider metrology community. For example, the MRA is specifically cited in ISO 17025 and in ILAC P10, the ILAC document that addresses metrological traceability. We also know that there are sectoral documents, such as from the US Federal Aviation Authority or the European equivalent, the EASA, that specifically make reference to the CIPM MRA as the source of information and validity of certificates from NMIs. So 25 years of great work on the MRA, and I think very tangible evidence that that work is usefully used in the community of stakeholders for accurate, globally comparable measurements. My final point is to talk about a very important event that we'll be celebrating in 2025, which is the 150th anniversary of the BIPM, the 150th anniversary of the signing of the Meter Convention, which took place on the 20th of May, 1875, when 17 nations came together here in Paris. There's a picture there of the room that they met in. They agreed the Meter Convention. They signed it to assure the international unification and perfection of the metric system. Well, now we call the 20th of May World Metrology Day. So 20th of May 2025 will be a very special example of World Metrology Day when we celebrate this 150th anniversary. It will be a great opportunity to come together, and I'd like to invite all of you to attend a special anniversary event if you're able to. There's information on our website to showcase your work through posters that we'll be exchanging and displaying at those events, to join the conversation about the success and importance and impact of metrology on LinkedIn, and also to sign up to our newsletter about the events. So our major event will be on the 20th of May, held at UNESCO headquarters here. Please visit our website and find out how to register. Places are limited. Please register soon if you'd like to come. The event on the 20th of May is followed by a two-day conference held in Versailles, rather close to us here in Sèvres, where we will highlight the topics identified by the CIPM as being a priority for the future of metrology: quantum technology, environment and climate, digital transformation, and a full-day session on metrology for future science. We also have an opportunity for you to put forward posters to be shared and profiled as part of these events. Please get involved in the conversation, and please save the dates, the Tuesday the 20th to the Thursday the 22nd of May next year. At that point, I say thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be involved in the 12th International Metrology Symposium.